Hello, everybody. It's Lindsay. This week we are going to start moving into the next part of the course, which is beyond the demographics, beyond setting up sort of the course, and talking about how do we start to dismantle and think about all of these things that we've been talking about in regards to health equity. How do they all work together to create systemic structures that provide for health inequities? And so this week we're really going to talk about sort of culture in the media, which is one of my favorite topics beyond sort of public health. Before that, though, I just wanted to talk a little bit about our fire in the ashes analysis paper. For this paper, this is in lieu of a midterm. It takes up the last part of the course. It's a way to apply fire in the ashes sort of to the wider perspectives of health. As you know, I like to talk about application beyond the classroom. And so that is what this paper is set up to achieve. So there's an outline that you will see on Blackboard this week. It is not due until a couple of weeks, but I want you to take a character from the book, any of the ones that you've been introduced to, whether it be pineapple, whether it be some of the other sort of characters that are in the book. It can be one of the major sort of kid focus, or it could be one of the parents. Find somebody that you found interesting. Think about the health issues maybe that they did have in the book, or things that might crop up later in their life, maybe that didn't get brought up in the book because of the limited amount of time focused on them. But think about some of the health issues that they were experiencing or that they might have experience later in their lifetime, and think about why these things are of interest, right? Then from there, I want you to create an annotated bibliography of 3 articles talking about current evidence related to the health solutions or the health outcomes that you had identified as being possibly problematic or that they did have, and think about solutions to those sort of things, especially from a health equity lens. If you talked about, this person might have developed COPD later in life, talk about sort of solutions that look at the particular mental and emotional health factors and the demographic health factors that affected their lives. You're going to create an annotated bibliography with those 3 things. And those annotated bibliographies are going to be finding an article, telling me the proper citation for the article, and then a short sort of summary about those sort of things. That's all you have to do for the first part in terms of your outline. From there, you're going to create a larger paper that talks about the character, the issues that they do face or might face later in their lives, and how in the context of the real world those things might have been worked on or solved or prevented even. And that is going to be the summary of your bigger paper. The paper's due near the end of the semester, the last week of class. And so that will be your biggest sort of product from the book, okay? If you have questions about that, let me know. I'm happy to meet with you in office hours or dialogue back and forth via email if you are having trouble understanding it. But I think it's pretty straightforward in terms of being an assignment with all those different pieces there. So thinking about the ways in which structural factors of our system work together to create health inequalities. One of the biggest things that we like to talk about, we as in public health, but me particularly as Dr. Lindsay Briggs, is talking about media and how much media is a socializing agent of our society. Media gives us stories, media tells us things. For most of us, that is how we know about the world around us, right? Yes, we have education, which is another socializing factor, but media is a really big one, right? We consume media from the time that we're little all the way through sort of our lives. Media could be formal sort of media, thinking about newspapers and cable TV and all these other sort of things, or more importantly, these days is social media. So thinking about what are the perspectives that social media, whether it be Twitter or Facebook or other sort of things, or whether it be looking at news related sort of stuff via our phones, how do those ideas of people and what people are doing and what people are like help to push a story that impacts us as public health providers to think about people's health. So this week I'm going to have you watch a TED Talk, just a single one, from Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie on the dangers of a single story. I think it's a really important perspective to think about how the media tells us things about certain people, and then how does that translate to health-related impacts. So also in this week, there's just a couple of examples. So looking at sort of the dangerous racialization of crime in the United States, when we have these sort of media perspectives of Black violence versus white victimization, is that real? Is that something that is a common sort of factor, or is that something that the media has created and then we absorb in these implicit bias sort of ways? Another one that is important is thinking about sort of coverage of Muslims, right? So coming off of our week of talking about religion, a lot of ideas about Muslims being terrorists, right? This all situated from sort of September 11th, and how for the past 20 years has the media painted this picture of Muslim people as terrorists. How does that affect people's health? How does that make them feel about themselves? How does that make them feel about accessing the health system? How does that impact their treatment when they go to talk to treatment providers about different sort of things? So some of the things that I want you to think about this week as you're listening to this and as you're sort of reading over these couple of things is, what is the media's role in contributing to our health inequity? How does the media shape how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about others, and how we access all this sort of care? Why is this important to know, right? Why do we want to know this? Well, obviously we want to know because we want to solve health inequality. And so how do we think about these sort of things? How do we become better users of media so that we don't buy into this implicit bias that continues to happen? This week, a light sort of activity, I want you to think about your culture, your sort of stories. What are the things that are unique about you, whether that be because you're a white person, or whether it be because you have other sort of unique demographic factors? How has the media portrayed people who are like you, and how has that been maybe damaging to you? You're going to fill out a worksheet, and then I want you to reflect on it in a discussion board this week. A very low-key sort of assignment, just so you can start thinking really deeply about media and culture and the stories that we tell ourselves and that other people tell us. So how does that affect our health? That's it for this week. I hope you have a good week. I'm thinking about you. Take care of yourself and your mental health, and I will be in touch soon.